Every dog in that shelter reacted to her. Every single one. Barking, jumping, spinning, pressing their paws against the gate. 42 dogs, all desperate to be chosen. But at the very end of that hallway sat a 100-pound Doberman who didn't bark, didn't move, didn't even glance at the door. He had been sitting in that same kennel for 11 months. And what happened the moment she crouched down in front of him? Nobody in that shelter saw it coming. Jenna Parker had just moved to a city where she knew exactly nobody. New job, new apartment, same coffee mug, completely different life. She was 32 years old, and she had packed everything she owned into a rental truck on a Tuesday morning and driven 6 hours toward a version of herself she hadn't met yet. The apartment was nice, the job was good, the evenings were very, very long. 3 weeks in, she started talking to her plant houses. A week after that, she realized the plant houses weren't helping. Her sister told her to get a job. Jenna said she wasn't ready. Her sister said nobody is ever ready. Jenna went to Harlow County Animal Shelter on a Sunday afternoon, mostly just to look. The hallway hit her immediately. Barking, jumping, paws on metal, the particular kind of chaos that only exists when 42 dogs all decide at the same moment that you might be the one. Jenna laughed out loud. She stopped at almost every kennel. A golden retriever mix licked her fingers through the bars. A boxer pressed his entire face against the gate and sneezed directly at her. A scruffy terrier stood on his hind legs and performed what appeared to be a full audition. Jenna kept walking. Not because they weren't wonderful, but something kept pulling her forward, all the way to the end, all the way to the last kennel. Inside sat a 100-pound Doberman, dark brown coat, rust-colored markings, ears straight as antennas. He wasn't performing, he wasn't pleading, he was sitting with the calm, unhurried energy of a dog who had long since decided that convincing people wasn't worth his time. His name card read, Duke, 3 years, returned 3 times, high energy, not recommended for first-time owners. The shelter worker caught up to Jenna and cleared her throat. That one's a lot, she said carefully. He's been here 11 months. Most people take one look and keep moving. Jenna looked at Duke. Duke looked at Jenna. Then, slowly, he stood up, walked to the front of the kennel, sat down directly in front of her, and stared at her with the focused intensity of a dog conducting a very serious job interview. Jenna crouched down. Duke tilted his head exactly once. Then he sneezed. Jenna burst out laughing. Duke's tail moved for the first time all day. She signed the papers 40 minutes later. The first morning, Jenna woke up at 6 a.m. to find Duke sitting next to the bed, staring at her from a distance of approximately 4 inches. She screamed. Duke did not react. He simply continued staring, tail moving slowly, clearly having already decided that 6 a.m. was a completely reasonable time for breakfast, and he would wait as long as necessary. This became the routine. Every morning, 4 inches, unwavering eye contact, 0 apologies. Stories like this remind us that sometimes the dog chooses you long before you choose them. There is so much more to share. You are still here, but you have not subscribed yet. Honestly, that stings a little. Hit that subscribe button right now. You won't regret it. By the end of the first week, Jenna had learned several important things about Duke. First, he did not understand the concept of personal space. If Jenna sat on the couch, Duke sat on the couch, specifically on top of Jenna, all 100 pounds of him, apparently under the impression that he was a lap dog. Second, he was deeply, passionately interested in her socks, not to chew them, just to carry one around, occasionally dropping it at her feet as a gift, then picking it up again and walking away. Third, and this was the one that made her call her sister laughing so hard she could barely speak, Duke had a habit of gently, very deliberately closing his mouth around Jenna's wrist whenever she stopped petting him. Not biting, not hurting, just holding. A soft, unmistakable announcement, "We are not done here yet." Her sister said that sounded terrifying. Jenna said it was the funniest thing she had ever experienced. Duke was not a guard dog performing loyalty. He was a ridiculous, dramatic, deeply affectionate creature who had decided that Jenna was his entire world and saw absolutely no reason to be subtle about it. Here is what most people don't understand about Dobermans. The intensity that makes them look intimidating is the same quality that makes them extraordinary companions. They do not do anything halfway. When they play completely. When they rest against you. When they decide you are theirs, there is no version of that decision that is quiet or casual. Duke had been returned 3 times by families who called him too much, too energetic, too focused, too in their space. What those families hadn't realized was that too much, in Duke's case, simply meant all of it. All of his attention, all of his energy, all of his ridiculous, sock-carrying, wrist-holding, 100-pound affection directed entirely at one person. They just hadn't been the right person. 2 months after the adoption, Jenna came home from a brutal day at work. Nothing dramatic, just the particular kind of exhausted that lives behind the eyes and doesn't fully leave until something makes you laugh. She dropped her keys on the counter. Duke was waiting at the door, as always. He looked at her face for exactly 1 second, assessed the situation, and left the room. He came back 30 seconds later carrying her left slipper in his mouth. He placed it at her feet with great ceremony, sat down, and looked at her expectantly. Jenna stared at him. She picked up the slipper. Duke's entire back half started wagging. She laughed. A real laugh, the kind that comes from somewhere unexpected. Duke immediately jumped onto the couch, turned 3 circles, and collapsed across her lap like a seal beaching itself. All 100 pounds of him, completely unbothered. Jenna sat there under the weight of her ridiculous, enormous, deeply devoted dog and thought, I drove 6 hours to a city where I knew nobody, and somehow I found the one creature on Earth who was going to make absolutely sure I was never alone again. Today, Jenna has been in that city for 8 months. She knows her neighbors now. She has a favorite coffee shop, a regular walking route, a small group of friends who started as strangers on a trail where Duke once stole someone's granola bar and showed 0 remorse. She is building a life, one ordinary day at a time. And every morning, without fail, she wakes up to 100 pounds of Doberman 4 inches from her face, staring at her with complete conviction that today is going to be an excellent day. He is not wrong, because some dogs don't wait for you to be ready. They just decide you are theirs and make themselves completely impossible to ignore. Duke had been waiting 11 months for someone to sit down and laugh at his sneeze. Turns out that was all it took. Is a dog that never gives you personal space a gift or a problem? Tell me in the comments.